What up? What up? What up? Hey, look, I just want to jump on real quick to let you guys know I'm going to be starting something January 2nd, 2026. Hopefully, it will be impactful. There's a lot of changes that are taking place right now, and I think that we need to be prepared for it, especially my generation, Generation X. We brought in the internet, with AOL, Netscape, Internet Explorer. Now we're moving on to what we call Web 3.0. You know what I'm saying? So we're transitioning into a artificial intelligence platform for all things communication. We're already seeing it happening right now in the current market. We just saw the numbers come out. All these college kids that were studying programming and information technology, computer science, they are not going to have no jobs. AI is already programming. I use a program called Lovable. I could put together an app literally in 15 minutes. And you all have seen my AI content. For those of you who have viewed it, I appreciate it. Takes a lot of time creating content. But look, at the end of the day, it's about creating generational wealth. Not just for, black people, brown people, but for everybody. Because look, the world's starting to see, look, white folk, y'all been having it good for a long time, but hey, look, y'all hurting just as bad as everyone else. Despite what your government is telling you. We're looking at this SNAP benefit crisis right now. You know what I'm saying? 42 to 50 million Americans out of a 300 million people population, that's significant. You know what I'm saying? So look, I have solutions. I have tried and true methods to creating generational wealth. Y'all know I've been in cryptocurrency since 2012. Ain't nothing changed. I'm still banging in the crypto markets. But in 2015, I decided to get with the big boys. I started learning how to trade options, leaps, investing, day trading, to make some money. I wouldn't say it's gambling, but it's you're trying to make the best decision off the information that you have, given the information that you have. Now, as a retail trader and investor, we don't always get the best information. So it's vital for us to have tools in our toolbox, like them instruments, like understanding technicals, how to read charts. Things of these natures will get you on a path to creating generational wealth. Most of y'all look, no, I grew up in Oceanside, California. My father was in the Marine Corps. I went to Oceanside High, played ball with Sayal and a couple other cats, Jerry Garrett. They're still doing their things, unfortunately. Rest in light, Junior Sayal. He's my homeboy. But look, I'm about creating generational wealth. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of means, and I'd be damned if I leave this planet and not leave anything to my children. So look, for Gen X and those of us who are a little older or perhaps a little younger, Gen Z, y'all need to get the program. This AI ain't going nowhere. So look, we might as well use this tool. And AI is simply a tool. Y'all see my little rudimentary videos. That's a start. We can all remember when the internet first came live. We was tripping because we had what dot matrix printers, and all of a sudden the laser printer came out, the jet ink. That was a game changer. But those of us who were like in technology back then, 94, 95, 96, we had dot matrix printers. Them y'all know what I'm talking about. So look, we're the progenitors of email. You've got mail, AOL. So look, times have changed, technology has changed, and I'm witnessing a lot of people in my generation get left behind. Those of us, we're close to retirement. I have not literally worked since I was 40 years old. And I'll put it out there, I'm 56. I know. Black don't crack. But anyway, look, at the bottom, at the end of the day, it's about leaving this planet with more than you came into this planet with. And so I'm about creating generational wealth because, I watched my mom and dad struggle, loss of businesses, loss of real estate. You know what? Even though they didn't have the tools to make it work, they showed me it was possible. So when I left at 18, I never looked back. I really haven't been in Oceanside since because I've been around the world, seeing how the world lives. You know what I'm saying? And we have it pretty good here in the United States in terms of being able to start from nothing and create something for yourself. But we're not the best economy, in my opinion. The United States is not the best to live, in my opinion. However, if you make your money in the United States, and yeah, you can live abroad, very comfortably. So look, I got on real quick just to give you guys a rundown, not to, get, distracted and whatnot and go down rabbit holes, because I really want to let you all know that, on January 2nd, 2026, that week, I will have my Patreon and my Twitch up, and I will start inviting people to join next month, actually, in November, December sometime. So that date is approaching us pretty quickly. And I just want to jump on real quick and say, look, there is no greater time for us than to get in this wealth exchange that is happening. We're experiencing the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the world. Right now, baby boomers are poised to leave $123 trillion dollars in the next 20 years. I want some of that. You know what I'm saying? Even though I'm investing, keeping my crypto game tight, keeping my investment game tight. Hey, look, when you're in the market, you're in the market for a reason and not just to flip a buck. You're in the market to create a legacy for yourself and for your children. So when we do die, and look, we all gonna die, whether we like it or not. Hopefully, through our health, we'll be able to enjoy some of the wealth that we create. Now, most of us are my age, 45 to 55, 60 years old. So look, time is ticking. I remember when I was in my 20s, shit, I never thought this day would come. But look, here I am. So what I did when I was in my 20s prepared me for today because I'm still pretty healthy, doing my thing in the gym, eating right. You know what I'm saying? I'm not on any medications. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to live my best healthy life. And I'm happy to see a lot of my friends are doing the same thing. So look, as we progress into our retirement years, it's really important for us to have a solid financial foundation because look, they changed the game, y'all. It's taking what 67 to retire now. For my generation, I remember when it was 63. It is now 67. So all we need to do is just look at the average life expectancy for a black man, you know, and that's my only demographic that I can relate to. The average age is 69. You know what I'm saying? So look, we have to do some things to make sure that we don't leave our legacy as a big fat zero. Nothing to pass on. African Americans are the largest insured demographic in the country. However, we're also the largest underinsured demographic, meaning when we pass and we transition, we may leave a couple $1,000s for the funeral expenses, but we don't leave any significant wealth that we can leave to our children that they'll be able to benefit from or their children. So, look, at the end of the day, again, I just want to jump on and let you guys know January 2nd, 2026, I want to do something really big and helpful, for my community. Everybody's welcome to learn. I spent a lot of money learning from some really successful people. I don't think the information should be monetized. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to charge a penny. Although there are some costs to trying to produce good content, in which I know I've done well, I'm good. So I can absorb those costs because information should be free. We were not taught financial literacy in high school. I've been to many different colleges. I have a lot of paper. But the bottom line is if you do not understand how to learn or how to employ what you learn to reap the benefit from it, then look, you're just wasting your time. So when I paid thousands of dollars to learn from Wall Street Trapper, which I think is very worth it, I spent thousands of dollars to learn from Aristotle, which I extremely worth it. You know what I'm saying? So look, my platform is going to be free. My Patreon is going to be free. Twitch is going to be free. YouTube is going to be free. So look, this is valuable information that I want to be able to share, with my friends from Oceanside, California. Now I know for a fact that, I'm more fortunate than most of you. You know what I'm saying? And those who have, you know, challenge, they found out, look, I'm an open book. to a degree. I'm not gonna put my crypto assets out there because that's not a good thing with quantum computers about to come online. So, you know, the way I manage my crypto is very different than how I manage my securities or my stocks. So look, we all can learn that now. But January 2nd, 2026, I'm going to put something together that I hope will be meaningful and helpful. It will be completely free. Now, you don't have to follow me every day, but all I ask you to do is when I get up and running, of course, do the standard stuff like, subscribe, leave a comment, for my algorithm. This is important information for us. And look, we all are out here doing our thing the best way we can. I'm not here to judge anyone because look, my homies, my close homies, they knew and they know how I grew up. And I'm not ashamed to say it, man. I have slept on couches and slept in my cars, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't have to spend money on a hotel because I really believed in my investment strategy. Now I'm happily married, couple kids, one on the way, because it's important for me to build a legacy, not only for myself, but for my children. And you all can do the same exact thing. So, for you veterans out there, we have a tremendous opportunity. So, if you know a veteran or you are a veteran and you're on my friends list, hit me up. I have a lot of information on how we could take advantage of some of the programs that are available to veterans. They're not necessarily available to the general public or population, but they're typically available to veterans and veterans family members. So there are some resources and opportunities that we might be able to take advantage of to take care of our situation. Last thing before I close, look, times are hard right now. I don't know what type of news that you listen to, but I listen to alternative real news outside of the United States to get a good idea of what's going on in the United States. So we all know that Trump just went on this Asia tour, whatever he called himself doing. It was a huge failure. So things are not going to get better. They're going to get worse before they get better. But what we can do is we can hedge our resources. For example, our money. If you keep your money in a savings account in a bank, I suggest you move it into a brokerage account. At least in a brokerage account, you're making a little bit more interest on your money. And if you invest your money, that's even a better move because the dollar is being decoupled from a bunch of countries from around the world. The US dollar is no longer dominant. Central banks are carrying more gold assets than dollar assets, and that's for a reason. So we have to make sure that we are ahead of the curve in terms of capitalizing on the wealth transfer that's occurring by getting into the crypto market, by getting into the stock market with these incredible stocks, the AI stocks, the Mag 7s. If you don't know who they are, I suggest you just put Mag 7 in your search engine or your AI browser and start getting familiar with where technology is. We must remember that the stock market is forward looking. It's a forward looking mechanism. So you may see a stock that's $6 today, like, Apple was at one time, or Palantir was at one time. When I bought Palantir, and I just dumped a whole lot of Palantir, and I put it on my Facebook post and on YouTube. I dumped 2,000 shares, but I got Palantir at $5.47 in August of 2024. Now, what did I do? Of course, I reinvested that. You know what I'm saying? It'd be stupid for me to take that money out where I have to pay taxes on it. Nobody does that. We leverage. And then my discussions we'll be starting to have, just in a couple months. We'll talk about how do you leverage your assets so you don't have to pay taxes. Because look, the name of the game is protecting your wealth and keeping your assets. So look, I'm Sarael, straight up crypto profit. I'm a stock investor, pretty good. But look, I've taken losses. I don't really post my losses a whole lot, but I can. If you're going to be in a market, it's a long term strategy. It's not a get rich quick thing. If you're into crypto is a long term strategy. I suggest that you find out what currencies are going to be held in the crypto treasury and start investing. Right now, XRP is really, really inexpensive. It's going to be used in the next 5 to 10 years. Back in 2012, when I told everybody at my alma mater, UCLA, Stanford, Harvard, you know what I mean? I told everybody, only 5 people benefited and listened to me. And now, they have some serious assets. So look, it's not about making money today, but being prepared for tomorrow through your money today. Again, I'm your boy Sarah, and I'll be coming at y'all twice a week. Hopefully, once I get my setup all going and up and running. Again, hey, look, if your dollars are not working, they're unemployed. Again, if your dollars are not working, they are unemployed. So the key is to get them dollars working passively so you make money. You know, for those who took the time to listen to this, I appreciate it and I appreciate you. We have an opportunity to really make some money in the next 5 to 10 years because I believe I'm going to be here for a while based on what I'm doing today. So, look, y'all be easy. I hope you guys are making it out there. I know it's difficult for a lot of you all, but keep your heads up, start investing, and think about your future. I'm out. Peace.